Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, 1960, remains one of the most influential horror films of all time, forever changing the landscape of cinema with its shocking twists and chilling performances. However, behind the scenes of this masterpiece, many of the actors who brought its suspenseful story to life have since passed away, some under tragic and heartbreaking circumstances. From Hollywood legends to lesser-known supporting stars, their contributions to this iconic thriller will never be forgotten. Join us as we look back at 37 actors from Psycho who have tragically left us, honoring their lives, careers, and enduring legacies. Anthony Perkins, who portrayed the deeply disturbed Norman Bates in Psycho, was 28 when he began filming in 1959. Norman Bates, a character defined by his eerie calm and split personality, became an icon of horror cinema, but the role also defined Perkins' career, leading to a typecasting that hindered his ability to break free. His personal life was turbulent. He married Barry Berenson in 1973, with whom he had 2 children. Perkins, who was openly gay, struggled with societal expectations and the emotional strain of his secret life. After Berenson tragically died in the 9/11 attacks, Perkins fell into deep depression. His health began to fail as he battled AIDS, and on September 12, 1992, at the age of 60, Perkins passed away from complications related to the disease. His death was a poignant end to a life filled with professional fame but personal turmoil.
It might be nicer and warmer in the office.
Janet Leigh, the actress who immortalized the doomed Marion Crane in Psycho, was 33 years old when she filmed her unforgettable role in 1960. Marion Crane's shocking death in the shower scene remains one of the most famous moments in film history. While Leigh's career flourished with notable roles in films like The Manchurian Candidate, 1962, her personal life was filled with heartbreak. She married actor Tony Curtis in 1951, and they had 2 daughters, but their marriage ended in divorce in 1962. She remarried twice more, but both of those relationships were also fraught with difficulties. In her later years, Leigh struggled with vasculitis, a disease that severely affected her health. Despite her battle, she continued to work and maintain a public image of strength. She passed away on October 3, 2004, at the age of 77, after a year-long fight against the disease, her passing a reflection of the pain and loss that marked much of her life, despite her success on screen.
Cabin 1. It's closer in case you want anything. Right next to the office.
I want sleep more than anything else, except maybe food.
Well, it's a big diner.
John Gavin, who played the stalwart Sam Loomis in Psycho, was 29 years old when he began filming in 1959. Sam Loomis, who searches desperately for his missing girlfriend Marion Crane, serves as the moral compass in the story, but Gavin's own life was far less straightforward. While his career included appearances in films like Spartacus, 1960, and Imitation of Life, 1959, he was never able to find lasting success in Hollywood. His personal life had its own share of sadness. He married actress Constance Towers in 1974, and they had 2 children, but the marriage faced many difficulties, including long periods of separation. Gavin's later years were marked by a long battle with leukemia, which severely impacted his health. On February 9, 2018, at the age of 86, Gavin passed away from pneumonia, complications from his battle with leukemia ultimately leading to his death. A bittersweet end to a life full of unfulfilled potential.
Circumstances, even respectability.
You make respectability sound disrespectful.
Oh no, I'm all for it. It requires patience, temperance.
Martin Balsam, who played the determined detective Milton Arbogast in Psycho, was 41 when he began his role in 1959. Arbogast, a persistent investigator, meets a tragic end while searching for Marion Crane, mirroring Balsam's own struggles. Balsam was a respected character actor, with a long list of credits including 12 Angry Men, 1957, but his career was often overshadowed by personal difficulties. His two marriages, first to actress Joyce Van Patten and later to Leah Adler, were marked by strain, as his demanding career put a strain on his family life. Balsam also grappled with depression, a shadow that hung over his later years. Despite his successes, he struggled to find happiness and stability. On February 13, 1996, Balsam died from a stroke at the age of 76, a quiet and tragic end to a life filled with professional accomplishments but personal challenges. His death came after years of battling both the pressures of fame and personal sorrow.
I think she's here, Miss Crane. But there's a boyfriend. Well, she's not back there with the nuts and bolts, but she's here, in this town, somewhere.
John McIntyre, who portrayed Sheriff Al Chambers in Psycho, was 53 years old when he took on the role of the cautious, skeptical lawman who initially dismisses the concerns about Norman Bates. McIntyre had a long and varied career in Hollywood, with appearances in numerous films and television shows, but he never quite reached the level of fame he desired. His personal life was marked by a long and mostly stable marriage to actress Jeanette Nolan, but their relationship was not without its challenges. As McIntyre entered his later years, his health began to deteriorate, and he was diagnosed with emphysema and lung cancer. These struggles took a toll on him both physically and emotionally, leaving him somewhat isolated. McIntyre passed away on January 30, 1991, at the age of 83 from respiratory failure due to his long battle with illness. His death marked the end of a career that never achieved the level of recognition it deserved, and a life that was deeply impacted by personal hardships and the burden of poor health.
It's just that I'm sure there's something wrong out there, and I have to know what.
Well, I think there's something wrong too, miss. But not the same thing. I think what's wrong is your private detective.
Frank Albertson, who portrayed the wealthy Tom Cassidy in Psycho, was 51 years old when he took on the role of the brash businessman whose stolen money sets the events of the film in motion. Albertson had a long career in Hollywood, but he never gained the level of fame he hoped for, and his personal life reflected this sense of unfulfilled ambition. His marriage to Dorothy Adams was strained, with financial difficulties and career frustrations taking a toll on their relationship. They had a son, but the family was never able to find the stability they sought. Albertson's life was abruptly cut short when he suffered a fatal heart attack on February 29, 1964, at the age of 55. His passing was sudden and tragic, leaving behind a legacy of unachieved potential and the bittersweet knowledge that he never fully realized his dreams in both his career and personal life.
You said was in your desk. Oh. Sometimes I can keep my mouth shut.
Simon Oakland, who played Dr. Fred Richmond in Psycho, was 45 years old when he took on the role of the psychiatrist who provides insight into Norman Bates' troubled psyche. Oakland's career was marked by steady work in both television and film, but his personal life was often in turmoil. His marriage to actress Joy ended in divorce, and his strained relationships with his children were compounded by his emotional distance and demanding career. In his later years, Oakland faced serious health issues, including a diagnosis of colon cancer. Despite his achievements, he struggled with feelings of loneliness and regret, particularly in regard to his fractured family life. Simon Oakland passed away on August 29, 1983, at the age of 68 from complications of colon cancer. His death was a somber reminder of a life filled with both professional success and personal sorrow, and he left behind an unfulfilled sense of connection to those closest to him.
I got the whole story, but not from Norman. I got it from his mother. Norman Bates no longer exists.
Patricia Hitchcock, who played the talkative Caroline in Psycho, was 32 when she appeared in the film. The daughter of the legendary Alfred Hitchcock, Patricia found herself overshadowed by her father's fame. Though she had some success in her acting career, she struggled to break free from his shadow and establish herself as a star in her own right. Her personal life was also filled with challenges, particularly her marriage to Joseph A. O'Connell, which ended in divorce. She never had children, and her later years were marked by feelings of loneliness and isolation. Patricia eventually found solace in writing and producing, but she always lived with the knowledge that she had never quite achieved the recognition she hoped for. She passed away on August 9, 2021, at the age of 93, from natural causes. Her death, though peaceful, was a reflection of the quiet struggles she faced throughout her life, living in the shadow of both her famous father and the unfulfilled potential of her own career.
You forget them as soon as they stop hurting.
Have you got some aspirin? I've got something. Not aspirin. My mother's doctor gave them to me the day of my wedding. Teddy was furious when he found out
Vaughn Taylor, who portrayed George Lowry in Psycho, 1960, at the age of 49, was cast as the stern real estate office manager whose stolen money triggers the events of the film. Though his career spanned decades, Taylor's most memorable roles remained those of minor characters, often playing authority figures. Despite his talent, he never reached the level of recognition that many thought he deserved, leaving his career with a sense of unfulfilled potential. His personal life mirrored his career in many ways, plagued by emotional distance and loneliness. He was married twice, but both marriages ended in divorce, with his career struggles and inability to connect emotionally contributing to their breakdowns. Taylor's later years were marked by financial difficulties, and he battled deep depression. On April 26, 1983, at 72, he passed away from a cerebral hemorrhage, and his death was relatively unnoticed. A quiet end to a life full of unrealized potential and personal turmoil.
Lowry, I am dying of thirsteroni.
I don't even want it in the office over the weekend. Put it in the safe deposit box in the...
John Anderson, who played California Charlie in Psycho, 1960, at 38, had a career that appeared promising at the start, but was ultimately overshadowed by personal struggles. His role as a used car salesman, which added an eerie sense of suspicion to Marion Crane's journey, marked a key moment in his career. Despite being a talented actor, Anderson's professional life was marred by his ongoing battle with alcoholism, which took a heavy toll on his personal relationships and career. His marriages were fraught with emotional distance, and both ended in divorce, with his alcoholism being a central factor. Anderson's grief deepened with the loss of his son to addiction, a tragedy that haunted him throughout his later years. This personal devastation only exacerbated his already deteriorating mental health, leading to a sense of isolation and regret. On August 7, 1992, at 69, John Anderson passed away from a heart attack.
That's the one I'd have picked for you myself.
How much?
Go ahead, spin it around the block.
Lurene Tuttle, who played Mrs. Chambers in Psycho, 1960, at 53, gave a memorable performance as the supportive, caring wife of Sheriff Al Chambers. In contrast to her character, Tuttle's real life was filled with emotional strain and challenges. She was married to voice actor Stan Freberg, but the relationship ended in separation, and the couple had no children. While Tuttle was highly respected in the entertainment industry for her voice work and acting, she never reached the fame she had hoped for, and her career was often marked by a series of minor roles. As she grew older, Tuttle struggled with health issues, eventually battling an undisclosed illness. Her personal life was one of loneliness, and despite her professional success, she never found lasting happiness or fulfillment. Lurene Tuttle passed away on May 28, 1986, at the age of 78, her death overshadowed by the quiet struggles she faced in her final years.
Your sister's missing how long?
Well, she left Phoenix a week ago yesterday without a trace.
How'd you and this detective come to trace her to Fairvale?
I thought you'd be coming to me.
Mort Mills, who portrayed the highway patrol officer in Psycho, 1960, at 41, played a brief but intense role in the film. Off-screen, Mills faced personal hardships that far outweighed his on-screen roles. His first marriage ended in divorce, and his second marriage was marred by the tragic death of his wife, leaving him emotionally shattered. In addition to these personal struggles, Mills battled severe health problems, including heart issues, which contributed to his physical and emotional decline. His career was steady, but he often found himself relegated to minor roles, unable to achieve the recognition he longed for. As his health deteriorated, Mills continued to face depression and loneliness. He passed away on June 6, 1993, at 74, from a heart attack, his life marked by both professional and personal sorrow. His death was a tragic end to a man whose potential was ultimately overshadowed by years of personal pain and hardship. Francis DeSales, who played Deputy District Attorney Alan Dietz in Psycho, 1960, was 48 when he took on the role. Alan Dietz, though a minor character, added to the legal framework in the film's portrayal of justice, yet Francis' own life was far from ideal. His acting career was unremarkable, with mostly supporting roles that never quite catapulted him to stardom. He was married, but his relationship lacked the warmth one might expect. His wife, deeply unhappy, eventually distanced herself emotionally, and they had no children. Francis struggled with loneliness and depression, which only deepened as the years passed. Despite his earlier professional successes, he became increasingly withdrawn, and his personal life seemed to unravel quietly. He passed away on September 25, 1988, at 76, from heart failure, a tragic end to a life marked by unfulfilled dreams and personal isolation.
I got the whole story, but not from Norman. I got it from his mother. Norman Bates no longer exists.
George Eldredge, cast as Police Chief James Mitchell in Psycho, 1960, was 62 when he portrayed the stern lawman in the film. Though his character projected authority, George's life was full of personal turmoil. His career, filled with minor parts, never provided the recognition he sought, leaving him to live in the shadows of Hollywood's big stars. His personal life mirrored his career struggles as he battled alcoholism and failed to sustain his first marriage. His second marriage ended similarly, and his relationship with his children became strained over time. The pain of his addiction and the disintegration of his family life haunted him until his final days. George passed away on March 12, 1977, at 78, after suffering a stroke. His death was a somber conclusion to a life overshadowed by self-destructive habits and emotional turmoil.
All missing persons cases on your books?
Yes, 2.
Young girls?
Did he confess to...
Like I said, the mother.
Alfred Hitchcock, who made a brief but notable cameo in Psycho as the man outside the real estate office, was 61 when filming began in 1959. Known as the master of suspense, Hitchcock's influence on cinema is undeniable, and his appearance in Psycho only served to heighten the eerie atmosphere he mastered. However, Hitchcock's personal life was far more complicated than his films suggested. His marriage to Alma Reville, while lasting over 50 years, was fraught with emotional distance, as Hitchcock's obsession with his work left little room for genuine connection. His controlling nature, particularly towards his actresses, created a toxic environment on set, most famously with Tippi Hedren during the filming of The Birds. Hitchcock's own insecurities and struggles with mental health, including periods of depression, made him a deeply troubled figure. Despite his fame, he lived a largely isolated life. Hitchcock passed away on April 29, 1980, at the age of 80 due to natural causes.
Well, I'm not easily shocked, but I did expect people to dress a bit more formally before sitting in front of their sets, now that two-way television is here.
Frank Killman, who played the minor but memorable role of Bob Summerfield in Psycho, was just 26 when he filmed the movie in 1959. While his role was small, it was crucial in establishing the calmness of the normal world before the horror unfolded at the Bates Motel. Unfortunately, Killman's life off-screen was marked by much more tragedy. His career did not take off as expected, and he was often typecast in minor roles. His personal life was similarly troubled, his marriage ended in divorce, and he found himself struggling to maintain relationships with his children. As his professional life floundered, his health began to deteriorate, and he was diagnosed with cancer in the 1980s. Despite a courageous battle, Killman succumbed to the illness, passing away on April 17, 1992, at the age of 58. His life, full of unrealized potential and personal challenges, ended far too soon, and he left behind a legacy tinged with regret and loss.
I want her to tell me it's none of my business, and then I'll go.
Bob, run out and get yourself some lunch, will you?
That's okay, Sam. I brought it with me.
Run out and eat it.
Ted Knight, who portrayed the deputy outside the holding cell in Psycho, was 37 when he joined the cast in 1959. Although his role was small, Knight's performance added to the film's atmosphere, contributing to the portrayal of law enforcement as they searched for Marion Crane. Knight's career, however, was marred by a series of setbacks. He struggled to land significant roles in Hollywood, and his financial troubles added to his stress. His personal life wasn't much easier, his marriage was strained, and his relationship with his children suffered. In the 1980s, Knight was diagnosed with cancer, which ravaged his body and left him with little energy to pursue his career or family life. The illness overshadowed the final years of his life, and he passed away on August 26, 1986, at the age of 62. His death came after years of battling both cancer and the emotional weight of a life filled with unmet expectations. Don Ross, who played the mechanic in Psycho, was just 40 years old when he appeared in his minor but memorable role. His early career in Hollywood was marked by missed opportunities and unfulfilled dreams. Ross, like many young actors, struggled to find roles that could propel him into stardom, and his personal life was filled with a sense of aimlessness. His relationships were fraught with disappointment, and he never achieved the lasting success he had hoped for. As he grew older, Ross' health began to decline, and he faced a battle with cancer that only added to the struggles of his personal and professional life. He passed away on January 15, 2011, at the age of 90, his death from cancer ending a life that had been characterized by quiet disappointment and the painful realization that his dreams would remain just out of reach.
Hey!
Just put it in here, please.
Sam Flint, who portrayed the county sheriff in Psycho, 1960, was 78 during filming. In the film, his role was that of a rural sheriff involved in the investigation, but Sam's real life was plagued by personal tragedies and unfulfilled potential. His career, which included some success in character roles, never reached the heights he hoped for. On the personal front, Sam faced a difficult marriage with a woman who suffered from mental illness, which led to a strained and ultimately broken relationship. The emotional toll of this, combined with professional struggles, left Sam isolated in his later years. His health deteriorated as he aged, and he became increasingly disconnected from his family. Sam passed away on October 17, 1980, at 97, after suffering multiple strokes. His final years were marked by solitude and physical decline, a stark contrast to the lawman he portrayed on screen. Jeanette Nolan, who provided the voice of Norma Bates in Psycho, was 49 when she recorded the chilling lines that would forever echo in the minds of viewers. Known for her vast range in television and film, Nolan's voice gave life to the terrifying presence of Norma, a character that symbolizes the twisted psychological state of Norman Bates. While her professional career was impressive, her personal life was filled with difficulty. She had a long, troubled marriage to actor John McIntyre, whose failing health cast a shadow over their relationship. The strain of caring for McIntyre, along with her own personal battles, often left Nolan feeling emotionally isolated. She had 2 children, but her family life was far from perfect, with the pressures of her marriage weighing on her well-being. In her later years, Nolan faced health problems herself, and in 1998, she passed away from a stroke at the age of 86. Her passing marked the end of a life that, despite her success, was overshadowed by personal struggles and the loss of happiness in her later years. Virginia Gregg, the voice behind Norma Bates in Psycho, 1960, was 44 when she lent her voice to the chilling figure of Norman Bates' mother. Though a highly skilled voice actress, Virginia's personal life was filled with challenges. She married young, but her marriage quickly soured due to her husband's emotional distance and her own growing discontent. The couple had 2 children, but their strained relationship led to divorce. Virginia's loneliness only deepened as her children grew up and became more distant. Despite a successful career in voice acting, she battled alcoholism and depression in her later years. Virginia was diagnosed with lung cancer and struggled with her health in the months before her death. She passed away on September 15, 1986, at the age of 70, after a long battle with cancer. Her death marked the end of a life that, while full of professional accomplishments, was overshadowed by personal pain and unfulfilled emotional needs. Robert Osborne, best known for his brief role in Psycho at 28, became a legendary figure in television as the host of Turner Classic Movies. While Osborne's career saw significant success, his personal life told a different story. Osborne never married and often spoke of the deep loneliness he felt in his personal life. His early years in Hollywood were filled with disappointment, and despite his professional accomplishments, he struggled to form lasting relationships. His life in the public eye was one of achievement, yet behind closed doors, he wrestled with feelings of isolation. The void he felt from never marrying or having children weighed heavily on him, even as his career flourished. Osborne passed away on March 6, 2017, at the age of 84, after a life of professional success marred by personal solitude. His death from natural causes came after decades of internal struggles, leaving behind a legacy of professional brilliance but a poignant reminder of his personal pain. Who is your favorite character in Psycho? How do you feel knowing that the actors have passed away? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos. Thank you so much.